Hey guys, this is Dash and you're watching WriterGAsh. Today we'll be talking about Crown of Midnight. So Crown of Midnight is the second book in the Throne of Glass series, and before we jump into the book itself, I want to show you my edition of Crown of Midnight. So this is the nerdy ink jacket like I have for Throne of Glass. I sprayed the edges orange to match. And I have got another beautiful golden stencil on it. I think this is just gorgeous. I know golden technically has a red center here, but I really like the idea of the sprayed edge peeking through that center and each book having its own. And I love how they all turned out and how they all look together. I'll link my Instagram below if you want to see all of them. I'm just really proud of how pretty these books ended up being and how I managed to make them this way. Anyway, I got these stencils from Kingdom Book Designs, who I'll link below in my descriptions because she creates the most amazing book designs and amazing stencils. She's also started to do foiling for books, and I think that's just beautiful. And if you live in the UK, give it a shot because like shipping to UK is probably really cheap. Because she works out of the UK, and having it shipped to the US, it's still decently priced with just the stencils. So I think if you're interested in getting some of your books specialized by her, she's a great artist. Without further ado though, let's get into Crown of Midnight. So let's do a non-spoiler review first. Crown of Midnight is the second book in the Throne of Glass series, and the first time around, it was my least favorite book in the series. I even remember thinking maybe I didn't like it that much. But now that I'm reading it again, I do like it. It probably still is my least favorite in the series, but I didn't dislike it. And that's something, right? I did enjoy every second of it, and I just wanted to talk about it because it just excited me so much. So this book follows Selena right after she wins the Assassin's Contest, the King's Contest or whatever in Throne of Glass. And now she is basically the King's assassin, his champion. And anytime he has dirty work for her, he sends her off to kill people. She grins and bears it. She hates the king, but she does it for her potential freedom. And as that goes on, the king gives her a new assignment to kill this man named Archer Finn, who Selena had known as a child. He was a courtesan who often visited the guild she grew up in, and she was familiar with him. There is the rebel movement growing with members of the Terrasin court, and if you don't remember, Selena is from Terrasin, so it hits kind of close to home for her. But it's just filled with so much mystery and intrigue as Selena tries to figure out who she can and cannot trust. And it's just a really good book. There's also Nehemia being more and more involved with rebel activity and trying to fight for EOA, and Kill and Dorian kind of getting used to this new normal as well. And Dorian dealing with the aftermath of Selena rejecting him. And I think that's like the non-spoilery part. And like some of these might sound like spoilers, but if you read Throne of Glass, you know this is the starting point for this book. And this is all like in the beginning of this book. So yeah, I highly recommend it. There are so many storylines happening. It is so exciting and full of life. So moving on to the spoilers. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend reading it and then coming back if you plan on watching this video. All right, so let's begin with talking about Selena's tasks with the king. So the king of Roland often sends her off to do his dirty work and kill people who are on his hit list. Basically people he has on this list of like potential rebels and stuff. So he sends her to kill people, and turns out she hasn't killed a single person he's asked her to kill. She gives them an option. You either fake your death and run away and never look back, or I kill you. And obviously people are going to choose life over death. So Selena has actually been hiding these people, faking their deaths, and going against the king in every which way she can. And I think because people don't know that's what she's doing, there was a little resentment brewing amongst her friends. Nehemia was upset that Selena could do what she was doing for the king despite everything the king's done. Dorian was upset because he was like, do I even know her? Like, how is this the person that I had fallen in love with? She's completely different. She follows my father's commands that way. And she's like, was the person that I met just a act? And Kale, I think, also struggles with it, but also he sees it as her duty and her being loyal to the king, and that's all he's ever known. But we see his loyalty shift in this book as his and Selena's relationship progresses. We see him put this like thing he has grown up with, this sense of responsibility, on the back burner and put his relationship with Selena somewhat to the front, which is why when he had kept Nehemia's situation from her, like the fact that Nehemia's life was in potential danger and the king wanted to question her from Selena, it hit Selena as bad because like at that point Kale had shown her that she came first for him. He even like said he would move away with her when her contract was up because he wanted to be with her. And I mean, in the moment, in that scene, reading it again, I felt so much sympathy for Kale. The first time I read this series, I was very much Team Dorian. I was very much upset that she had a relationship with Kale. And I was like, okay, I can see it. They make sense. In this point in time, who Selena is, makes sense that she is with Kale. Speaking of, we do know that Selena isn't Selena anymore. The end of this book gives us the biggest plot twist. Selena is fucking Aelin Ash River Galathynius. And I love Aelin. I've talked about Aelin in a lot of videos and in a lot of places, so I am glad to be able to call her that. So I might change back and forth between Selena and Aelin. I've always looked at this part of her life as her being Selena, but the future as her being Aelin. Like, Selena is a part of Aelin, and that's why I think it's still true to call her Selena. Besides, I think a big thing is Selena like not telling her friends that she was the lost princess of Terrasen. And I feel like at the end, while Kale comes to terms with the fact that, hey, my ex-girlfriend is a fae, I can deal with that. I can still love her despite all of that. And but the second he finds out that she's the princess, he's like, that goes against everything I believe. If I were to still stand by her side, I'd be going against my, what's it called? The thing my whole life revolves around, the sense of duty, the sense of responsibility to Arlen. If I stand by Aelin, I turn my back on Arlen. And I think it's going to be an internal conflict for him that I never realized was happening in the later books. Before, I think reading it back makes me see Kale a little bit better. And I dislike him a little less. I really disliked him throughout the rest of the series. Even when he had his own book, I was not on board with him fully because I really disliked him for the Nehemia scene. Here, I couldn't get over it that he lied to Selena. But now that I'm reading it again, I realized that it wasn't as much as him lying that caused Nehemia to die as it was Archer Finn's fault. I don't know why I pushed all the blame on Kill for so many years. And I see that more clearly now that I'm reading it. I think I just forgot about the tiny details in the haze of the bigger picture. But with that being said, One thing about this book that really bothered me was Nehemia making these decisions for Selena. I know she was doing what was best for her kingdom, what was best for her friend. Nehemia needed to do what she did to best serve her friend to become the queen that Nehemia knew she could be. Because I am 100% sure Nehemia knew Selena was Aelin. And that is why she did what she did. Like, that's why there was the rumor that the queen, the rightful queen of Theresen was gonna come back. Because Nehemia was the one leading the rebels. And it's just so complex. And I get that. But it broke my heart that Nehemia decided the only way to push Selena was to hurt Selena in such a way. And I feel so bad. Like, this keeps happening to Selena. These people that she comes to love, they keep leaving her. Like, her parents died, then Sam died. And like, these things are what drive her. Yes, these are her motivators in life. But it just keeps happening to her, and it's just so sad. And Nehemia's death was like a breaking point for her. The scene in the library when, like, so the scene where Selena is at the graves of Nehemia and sings Teresin's songs to her, and then Kill overhears and goes to the library to look up the song and finds out Selena's potential Teresin nobility. And you then start seeing the dots forming to the future where we find out more about Selena being Aelin. So when Selena's like, oh, look up this date, basically. And then he looks it up and he finds out that's the day King Roland died and Ro and Evelyn died. And connects the dot between that and Selena being the lost princess Aelin. I think all of these revelations is what makes this series so great. Every book has these like huge revelations that the first time around you do not see coming. Like, who would have connected that Selena would be Aelin? We could have thought she knows Aelin Galatinius, but how the hell would we have guessed that she was Aelin Galatinius? I love Aelin. Aelin was who I wanted to be and who I wanted to be with when I was a child. Like, she made me realize so much about myself, and I fucking love her. Like, to this day, Aelin Ash River Galatinius is my favorite book girlfriend. She is my ride or die. And I'm so excited to continue this journey with her all over again and to finally see her back. Because like I said, Selena and Aelin, while the same person, are two different people. And while I like Selena, I love Aelin. Now, back to one more thing that really bothered me about this book. It was how Selena treated Dorian. I get she told, like, you know, she's not interested in him, and she has every right to do that. But she wasn't there for him when he needed a friend. Kale wasn't there for him when he needed a friend. In this whole book, all he needed was really for them to be his friends, and Kale felt guilty about being with Selena, so he kind of abandons Dorian. And Selena just straight up, you know, kind of drops the ball as well. Like, in the last book, they end terms on let's be friends. Like, Selena's the one to suggest, I still want you as a friend. And Dorian was more than happy to be that friend. And he doesn't push. Not once in this book does he push for a relationship. Yes, he sometimes asks, is that why you chose him? Was there a reason you didn't want me? He wanted closure. And I get that sometimes those questions are annoying, but that's not the only times when she pushed him away. She just, in general, pushed him away and wasn't there for him. Like, if she had been there for him, maybe he would have come talk to her about his magic instead of going to Baba Yellowlegs. And speaking of Baba Yellowlegs, that bitch. I think one of my favorite scenes in this book is when Selena takes her on and wins. And like, yes, she's a witch killer. We'll see more about that in the future. But I just love Selena being badass and, you know, serving justice. Like, frankly, Baba Yellowlegs wasn't a good person. She was selling Dorian's secrets to the highest bidder. She was bitter, and she was probably gonna kill Selena, so it was self-defense, really. Even though Selena was planning on killing her anyway. One last thing I want to talk about is Elena. So Elena is obviously guiding Selena, but I also, like, this is where you start seeing how she's manipulating Selena for her own, well, selfish reasons. And I kind of, like, this is where I started having an issue with Elena, because she's the one who worked with Nehemia to cause Nehemia to cause her own death. Like, she's the one doing all of these things to manipulate Selena to make the decisions she wants Selena to make. And it's just so blood boiling. Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the rest of the series. If you haven't read it, please don't watch this part, skip right to the end. I'm gonna raise the book, and until this book comes down, I'm gonna be talking spoilers. Okay, so, and we see this pattern again and again. Like, when in the end we find out Elena had been basically raising Selena to be a lamb for slaughter, when Dorian could have been it too, but no, Dorian was her husband's blood, so that she couldn't hurt. She could hurt her father's family after she had betrayed her parents. Like that, like, not betrayed, but like, you know, she was the reason for how everything ended up. She was the reason for things not working out okay at the first point. She was the reason her mother's sacrifice didn't work. And then she decides to put Terrason's bloodline in danger for the sake of the Adolinian bloodline, because Dorian to her mattered more than Elena. And also, this is me remembering from memory, because this is all this like resentment I have towards Elena coming up. And maybe the details are different, and I'll talk about it more as I get to that point in the books, and maybe I'll change my mind based on my current reading of the books. But I remember being so pissed off at Elena for the way she treated Elena differently than she treated Dorian, because like Dorian's life mattered more to her. I remember being pissed off about that, so I just wanted to pull that in, because when the thing with Nehemia happened, Nehemia didn't make that decision all on her own. Elena probably goaded her on, like made her feel like that was the only choice. I do not trust Elena. And I freaking hate that she is the reason Selena broke in this book. But she's the reason that everything happens the way it does, and she's the driving force for a lot of the things in Adolin and in Aurelia. And God, I have a deep-seated resentment towards her. Even though Selena never really holds it over her, I do. I hated her. Anyway, so that is it for my Crown of Midnight book talk. I hope I didn't miss anything major. I probably did. I love Fleetfoot in this book, because Fleetfoot's always great. Roland, yes, Roland, Dorian's cousin, is in this book. And I cannot for the life of me remember him. He seems a little sketchy, but also he goes to Morath with Parrington and Caltaine, and that worries me about what's going to happen, because in the end, Selena's worried about what's going to happen, because she doesn't think she thinks what Parrington's about to do isn't going to be good. And I wonder what's going to happen to Roland. I cannot remember him. I knew he existed in this book, but I didn't realize he would have a role in the others. There's so much I've forgotten. It's absolutely shocking. Like the scene when Dorian goes to Babalegs, I'm like, I don't remember this. All I remember about Yellowlegs, her name's not Babalegs, it's Baba Yellowlegs, is that Selena kills her for some reason. I didn't remember the details, and now I do know the details. But it's been an exciting reread. I have been really enjoying it. I read this book in under 12 hours, people. I started reading it around like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. and I got it done by 4 a.m. I was up till 4 last night reading it because I couldn't put it down. And I didn't think I would say that about Crown of Midnight of all books. But anyways, I'm off to read Assassin's Blade, and re-experience that heartbreak. And I will see you all later.